Jon Rahm had just won the Masters tournament. He was ranked third in the world. He was the centerpiece of Europe's future in the Ryder Cup, and then he left it all behind. Rahm signed with LIV Golf for a contract reportedly worth more than $300 million. To many fans, it looked like the simplest story in sports. A superstar choosing money over legacy. But 2 years later, something strange has happened. Rahm is a back-to-back LIV individual champion. He is climbing back up the world rankings, and he is still playing in the Ryder Cup, which raises a very uncomfortable question for the rest of professional golf. What if Jon Rahm didn't make a mistake at all? What if he made the smartest move in the sport? Here is the conventional wisdom that formed within 48 hours of Rahm signing with LIV. He had traded legacy for money. He had abandoned the PGA Tour at the exact moment when staying would have made him the face of the sport's resistance. He had jeopardized his Ryder Cup future. He had put his major exemptions at risk. And he had joined a league with no world ranking points, meaning every week he played on LIV was a week his standing in the game's official hierarchy quietly eroded. The critics had evidence. Dustin Johnson, once the world's top-ranked player, had watched his OWGR position collapse well outside the top 100 after years on LIV without ranking points. Sergio Garcia had resigned his DP World Tour membership entirely, and with it, any realistic path to the Ryder Cup for the foreseeable future. The structural logic was airtight. Without OWGR points, a ranking decays. Without a ranking, major access narrows. Without the DP World Tour, the Ryder Cup, European golf's most defining stage, disappears. Rahm, the argument went, had chosen a very large check over everything that made the check meaningful in the first place. That argument deserves to be examined carefully, because parts of it are right, and parts of it miss the point entirely. Let's start with the on-course record, because it matters, and it is not what the critics predicted. In his debut LIV season in 2024, Rahm did not finish outside the top 10 in any of the 12 events he played, and won the season-long individual championship. In 2025, despite going winless in individual events, he retained the title for a second consecutive season. He finished 2.48 points ahead of Joaquin Niemann in the season-long standings, despite Niemann winning 5 individual titles. And at the season finale in Indianapolis, he shot a final round 60 to overtake Niemann in the season standings, forcing a playoff for the individual event that he ultimately lost on the first extra hole, but winning the championship that mattered most, back-to-back individual champions. By the competitive measure that LIV uses to define excellence, Rahm has been the best player in the league since he arrived. Now here is where the ranking picture gets complicated. When Rahm joined LIV in December 2023, he was ranked third in the world. Without OWGR points, his ranking decayed steadily. By the time the 2026 LIV season opened, he had entered the year ranked 97th, confirmed by Golf Digest. That part of the criticism landed. The ranking fell, the visibility narrowed. But then the OWGR changed something fundamental. On February 3rd, 2026, LIV Golf received world ranking points for the first time in its 5-year existence. Points go only to the top 10 finishers and ties in each 57-man field. The winner receives approximately 23 points, comparable to a PGA Tour alternate event. A partial door, but a door that had been formally shut since October 2023. Rahm went to work immediately. A runner-up finish in Riyadh moved him from 97th to 67th. Another runner-up in Adelaide, where he held a 5-shot lead in the final round before Anthony Kim overtook him, moved him to 50th. Then a final round 64 in Hong Kong, winning by 3 strokes over Thomas Dietrich, ended an 18-month individual title drought and vaulted him from 54th to 36th in the world. All confirmed by CBS Sports and Golf.com, citing the official OWGR update. The man who had entered the 2026 season ranked 97th was, within 3 events, back inside the top 40. Here is the part of this story that doesn't fit the conventional narrative. Rahm didn't just sign a contract, he made a structured argument with his career about how professional golf's power dynamics were going to evolve. When he joined LIV in December 2023, No independent observer would have predicted that LIV would receive OWGR points. The OWGR had formally rejected LIV's application in October of that year. The ranking system's exclusion of LIV appeared permanent. Rahm signed anyway. He did not resign his DP World Tour membership, unlike Sergio Garcia. That decision preserved his Ryder Cup eligibility, at a cost. The DP World Tour levied fines, reportedly exceeding $3 million for competing in conflicting LIV events without releases. Rahm appealed those fines. Under DP World Tour regulations, players remain eligible to compete while an appeal is pending. That process kept his membership technically intact. European captain Luke Donald selected him as a captain's pick for the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black, his fourth appearance for the European team. He went 3-2-0. Europe won 15-13, becoming the first away team to win the Ryder Cup since 2012. Rahm's specific record at Bethpage: 3 wins, 2 losses, 0 halves, going 2-0-0 in foursomes alongside Tyrrell Hatton and 1-1-0 in 4 balls alongside Sepp Straka. He played in the Ryder Cup while his fines continued to accumulate, while ranked outside the world's top 50, because he had read the regulations carefully enough to find the line between what the rules permitted and what they didn't, and stayed on the right side of it, at significant cost for 2 years, because he believed the structure would eventually shift. It did. None of this makes the Rahm story a clean success. Several threads remain genuinely unresolved, and they will determine whether history calls this a masterstroke or a miscalculation. The DP World Tour question is the most pressing. In February 2026, 8 LIV players accepted conditional releases, paying their fines, withdrawing appeals, and committing to additional European Tour appearances in exchange for 2026 DP World Tour eligibility. Tyrrell Hatton was among them. Rahm was not. He has publicly described the DP World Tour's demands as extortion, citing fines exceeding $3 million. Rory McIlroy, speaking at the Hero Dubai Desert Classic in January, called the settlement offer generous and suggested Rahm and others should pay and move on. If Rahm's appeal goes against him before 2027, his path to the Ryder Cup at Adar Manor in Ireland becomes legally uncertain. That is not a small thing. His career Ryder Cup record now stands at 9 wins, 5 losses, and 3 halves across 4 appearances, making him one of Europe's most important players in the modern era. The prospect of being unavailable for Adar Manor is the most significant risk still attached to this decision. The OWGR point structure also remains incomplete in a way Rahm himself has publicly highlighted. Players finishing 11th or lower earn 0 ranking points while still having the tournament counted in the formula, a structural penalty that disadvantages everyone outside the top 10. Rahm told reporters in Riyadh it didn't seem fair that LIV players were not being treated the same as every other tour. The OWGR has stated it will continue to evaluate. Whether the allocation expands remains open. And the major record since joining LIV deserves honest treatment. In 2025, he made the cut at all 4 majors, including a tied 8th at the PGA Championship, where he led at 9 under during the final round before dropping 5 shots in his last 3 holes, and a tied 7th at the US Open at Oakmont, shooting a closing 67. Confirmed by Wikipedia. Competitive, not a winner. For a player of his ability, the window narrows with each passing season. So, did Jon Rahm make a strategic masterstroke? Here is the honest answer. He made a bet on 3 things simultaneously: that LIV would eventually receive world ranking recognition, that the Ryder Cup would remain accessible without paying fines he considered unjust, and that his on-course excellence within LIV would preserve his standing until the structural landscape shifted in his favor. On all 3 counts, the evidence so far supports him. The OWGR door opened in February 2026. The 2025 Ryder Cup cap is confirmed. His ranking has climbed from 97th to 36th across 3 events. The unresolved element is the 2027 Ryder Cup at Adar Manor. Rahm has roughly 18 months to reach a resolution with the DP World Tour. The fines are growing, the arbitration date is unconfirmed, and CBS Sports has reported that Rahm has 2 more years remaining on his initial LIV contract, which narrows his options considerably. Call it a bet that is paying out, but one with significant clauses still outstanding. What Rahm has proven, more than anything else, is that in professional golf's current structure, the rules can be navigated by someone willing to read them more carefully than everyone else. Whether that qualifies as a masterstroke will be answered at Adair Manor in 2027. Subscribe to Legacy Wedges for more content like this. The money, the structure, and the decisions beneath the leaderboard that actually shape the game you love.